So I was talking to a guy and I tell him, I actually want to start growing my own food and I would actually consider like just living in a farm, having my animals, having the food and just being able to just take care of everything. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And for a moment I was like, maybe I am crazy, okay? But here's the main thing. When I'm explaining this idea to a lot of people, they just don't get it. They can't wrap their minds around somebody living, like leaving the city or leaving a town and going, for example, to a farm. They kind of see it like, why would you go from a better situation to a worse situation? And whenever I'm explaining it, I'm like, it's not a worse situation. It's actually a better situation. You have a lot more control. You can basically grow your own food. You have everything you need, and you're basically more independent in a sense, okay? And to me, it makes a lot of sense. But when you try to break these things down to people, they just don't seem to get it. But thankfully, you do have the internet, you do have a lot of books, and you have, for example, a vast amount and communities of people that kind of just share these values. So this way, you don't feel that crazy because there are people out there that share these ideas and are actually doing these things, okay? So for me personally, I do live in an apartment here in Dominican Republic. I pay about $152.54 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and I don't have a lot of space here. I just have a small balcony. But when I had the idea and I started to do research on growing food and having animals and all this stuff, I was like, if I cannot be faithful with a little, how can I be trusted with a lot, okay? So about a month ago, I just started to grow, for example, my own food and just growing things that I eat every day and things that I basically like. And the whole idea is to get good at growing, to understand the basics. So this way, if I am given the chance to actually buy a plot of land and to actually grow food there and everything else, at least I'm going in with experience and not having to go in and say, hey, all right, I have the land. What do I do now? Okay, it's a lot better to have the experience, to have the knowledge, so when you actually get what you want, you know exactly how to manage it. That's the whole idea, all right? Now, do me a favor and smash the like button. And right away, let's just go into my little balcony garden where I'm gonna show you exactly everything I have. All right, guys, so right here is our small little garden, okay? And as you guys can see, we do have a lot of decorative plants because my wife loves them, which is pretty cool. This is also decorative up here, but this is actually just a small balcony. I'm gonna make my way down there just in a bit and show you everything. But right here, we have some oregano. That's like oregano to cook and stuff like that. We have over here some basil. And it's actually the first plant we were actually able to use because we actually used it to actually make a pesto. Very fancy stuff, okay? Then over here we have some more decorative plants because my wife actually loves them. They're actually growing very pretty. Over here we have some onions which have actually failed. By the way, this is actually supermarket onions, okay? So I actually got these onions from a supermarket that were basically already growing, and I basically just cultivated it and basically grew it. You're probably saying, Tommy, it's not going that well for you, buddy. But over here, these ones are the same ones, and they're pretty much, they're not thriving per se. It's more like an experiment, okay? I had some onion seeds, but it didn't turn out well. The ants actually took over. Over here, I actually have some what do you call this? Some bell peppers. These are bell peppers, okay? They're doing okay. Over here, I have some tomatoes because who doesn't like tomatoes? I actually have some tomatoes, which they're actually doing okay, by the way. And if you're probably wondering, Tommy, isn't that like too close plants to each other? The answer is it is right now. As they keep growing, I'll probably transplant them over to something else. But for the moment, they're here. And as you can see right here, we have some plants like wrapping around here also, and over here. That's actually black beans, okay? So over here, I actually have some black beans that I actually planted. I actually germinated them in a napkin, and they're doing pretty good. Look at the stalk on this one right here, okay? It's awesome stuff. Over here, I have some more bell peppers. We have some mint over here, which kind of like dies and then comes back. My wife told me that. Over here, we have some more bell peppers, and over here, we have some more oregano. Now, over here, you're probably wondering, what is this? This right here is actually garlic. The garlic is doing pretty okay for the moment. More garlic here. And over here we have some more bell peppers that we're actually planting. And we're actually getting some pretty good results from it. That's my wife, by the way. Not in the background, just like her planting this here. And then over here I have some tomatoes. This is like cherry tomatoes. They're not doing that well. And here I actually have some compost I'm actually doing, okay? I can't show it to you. I'll probably show it to you in another video. But over there I have some earthworms, and they're actually the one doing all the composting. So it's pretty cool stuff. I'll show you guys later. And back here, I'm trying to use all the space I possibly can. I have a pineapple, and the pineapple is actually just growing for me some roots. It's actually working, and I'll actually show you guys right now. Let me just place this phone maybe just right here. I'm using two phones, by the way, and I'll show you guys the roots it's actually giving me. So right here, let me pull it over, and as you guys can see on the corners, is actually giving me some roots. So I just have it in water, and once it's ready, you're probably wondering, Tommy, where the heck are you going to plant it once it's ready? The answer is, that's a problem for when I need it. I need to solve it, okay? But this is basically all I'm growing for this very moment, and I'll give you guys some more details back at the office. Now, welcome back to the office, and as you can see, I do have, for example, literally, it's just a few plants here and there. But again, I consider these plants so important because they're more like training ground for me, and they're teaching me a lot of things, you know, how to plant, when to water, how to get a plant to grow roots, when to transplant, and I'm making a lot of mistakes, and I think that's awesome. Learning mistakes and having mistakes on a small scale is great, but making mistakes on a big scale is not that fun, okay? And inside my home right now, I don't have any plants, but I was talking to my wife, and we were talking about, for example, getting an air purifier, and I was like, I wonder if we could just get some plants instead that could do the same exact job. And guess what? Those plants do exist, and some of those plants are, for example, you can get a money tree plant, get a mother-in-law tongue plant, and also get a Areca palm plant, okay? And these plants, you basically have them around the house, and they can basically grow in shade, and they stay alive, and they're doing perfectly healthy, and they basically help purify the air around your house. So it's a lot more natural, a lot more cheaper, and just a lot more sustainable overall, okay? And you also care for plants, which is actually pretty cool. So that's just something I wanted to add in here, but I actually just want to go into detail now about why exactly am I choosing to go ahead and start growing my very own plants indoor right now. You know, I'm just training and I'm just doing this whole thing, but why am I so interested in growing my own food? The first reason, and by the way, there's four, the first reason is trust. For a long time, I never really thought about my food consumption, okay? I would just basically buy food, cook it, or for example, just eat out, not really worry about anything. And then I started watching documentaries. I started watching, for example, videos on YouTube. I saw how they raise a chicken that never sees daylight, chicken that basically never walks around, never roams grass. I saw how there's just a whole bunch of pesticides in all of our food, and basically that has a negative effect on our body. I saw how they inject animals with chemicals to make them grow faster and all this stuff. And I was like, why do I trust companies to worry about me when companies are just worried about their bottom line, making more money, becoming more efficient, making more profit? And ever since then, I stopped kind of trusting, I really have stopped trusting companies, for example, for my well-being. So at this very moment, guess what? I am, as you can see, the little garden doesn't really give me anything. I got some basil, like I told you guys, but for the most part, there's nothing to actually cultivate right now. But for the most part, whenever I'm out there and I'm eating out, I really do it for the most part, almost against my will, almost feeling like I'm eating poison in a way, because I kind of am, okay? So a big reason to why I'm doing this whole thing and I'm learning how to do it is because I really want to prepare myself to take care of my own health in a way, because no company is going to do it for me. So the first reason is just trust. Trust between me and corporations has just gone down completely. And trust in the government to basically certify everything, take care of everything, to me, it also has gone down drastically also. Now, number two is honest work. I think having a garden, having your own animals, and taking care of them, I think is just real good, honest work. And to me, this type of honest work, by the way, I work in an office setting. I don't have to move just about never. So it's very easy for me to get, for example, overweight or get obese because there's no exercise here whatsoever. But when you actually have like a little farm or you're cultivating things and all this stuff, you are moving around. You're always doing exercise. You're basically lifting things and planting things and digging things and just basically always moving. And I really do rather a job like that in a sense because it keeps you healthier for longer. And I see how people, for example, in farms, how they grow older, and they don't grow older like people in the city do. You know what I mean? Like you see like an old man in a farm and he's just roaming around and doing whatever he's doing, okay? And when he basically goes away, he goes away planting something like that, okay? But a lot of folks in the city, they get to an age where they just are just wrinkly. They can't do anything. They can't walk. They're like in an old people home, and it's not really how I see or how I want my life going, for example. I don't think it's the best way, honestly. Now, the third reason is because the future. I think it's great to kind of raise kids in that setting. I was not raised in that setting. I didn't even know how to plant anything, how to grow anything, how to take care of an animal, for example, how to feed animals, how to just be more independent in a sense. What I was taught how to do is basically be completely dependent on a wage to use that money to basically buy everything I basically need. But everything I basically needed, I had no idea how to do any of those things on my own. And I think having that reliance and dependency is not as good as we think it is. That's why my fourth and final reason is because of emergencies and being more independent. I was there during 2020 and I saw how people just worried about toilet paper. But for the most part, things were not great, but at least, for example, in New York, we didn't really run out of food, for example. But imagine that. There are some areas where some people just couldn't really get any food, for example, okay? So imagine being in a setting like that where you don't really have food in storage. Like we could probably last it without any food in New York about 3 days or 2 days maybe. And then we just basically run out of everything. We didn't know how to store, how to basically prolong the life of anything. If electricity went out, it would have been over, okay? Then it would have really been a problem. But for the most part, I think being so reliant on companies and corporations and grocery stores and all this stuff to take care of us as far as, for example, what we eat and making sure that it's healthy, I don't think it's a healthy reliance. So I think actually having your own food, growing your own food is massive. Now, there is something I have been contemplating, which is a mixture between, for example, having a farm and being there also, but also having other people there actually working and cultivating. Now, because this is a finance channel, you're probably wondering, Tommy, are you trying to do this for profit? The answer is absolutely not. I mean, the most profitable thing would just be erase this idea from my mind and just keep buying grocery store food and not worry about anything, okay? It'd be more cheaper because I get to keep my cash and invest it, make more money. But if I have to buy a piece of land, that's money I don't have, okay? And I'm not actually doing it for profit. So the food I actually make would just basically be for my family and so on, okay? Now, there is something else that I want to mention, guys, here, which is basically what are your plans for the future? Because obviously, you can't stay in that balcony. It's a mixture, I'm not really sure, and that's fine. That's okay. All my plans aren't perfect, so not having a perfect plan right now is fine, okay? So I'm stuck between two things, which is basically have a house here, have a farm, go to the farm, and basically take care of it and then come back home. Or have a farm, live on the farm, and just basically, that's my home. That's where I'm kind of like stuck in between, and I'm just trying to like kind of figure that out, okay? And see exactly what works best. But even on the property that I do buy, if I have a farm and a property, it would have to be a farm with a decent backyard, with decent land at least, okay? So I can have, for example, at least a few raised garden beds and just plant some vegetables and some things there that are fast to grow and just have them there. Well, I have the farm with like the animals and the more intricate things that I just can't grow in my backyard and so on, and go in there every single week, maybe every single day, and taking care of the animals and so on while having someone there helping me out. So that's kind of where I am with this idea. And those are my reasons to actually doing what I'm doing, okay? my recommendation is, guys, if you're interested in growing, for example, your own food and you don't know how to, the answer is YouTube exists. There are a lot of books in this stuff, but you don't have to read a book about how the seed works, but you could basically just go on YouTube, watch a lot of videos on this stuff, and my advice would be don't get too excited and don't just leave the city right now and then go buy a piece of land because you might regret it. Take it slow. I'm like that. When I like something, I get very excited, I can be very impulsive, and that's very dangerous and stupid, okay? So you wanna be very careful with that. So just take it slow, grow some things at home, even if you just have a balcony, or even if you just have a window. That's true. Some people just have a window, okay? And just start growing and seeing how things work and experimenting and just start worrying about, okay, so if I do this idea, how would I actually go about it? And if you have no way to grow anything at home, you do have farms that take in interns, provide for you, for example, like housing, and you can just basically be free farmhands. So you help them out with everything, you're learning a lot of things, a lot of skills, and you sleep there for free to take care of you with food or whatever, and you're getting all the knowledge you need because you can't grow anything in your house, okay? So that's my advice. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, subscribe and like. Peace.